Welcome to Enjoy Fort Wayne. This episode is brought to you by the YLNI Farmers Market and highlights the 350 vendors that make up the #1 market in the state of Indiana.
Jen Netting, the tattooed cookie.
Tattooed cookies. So the first thing that jumps out to me is, how did you get tattooed in the name? I mean, cookie, I understand.
Right. A lot of it has to do with I look at what I do, which is custom sugar cookies, is what I specialize in. And I look at that as artistry, and it relates to tattoos.
Oh, okay.
And I happen to be a tattooed cookie.
I have 9 tattoos.
See,
yes.
you're a tattooed cookie too.
Okay. I love it.
So that's how it came about.
I was curious. Okay.
And the logo is actually based on one of the tattoos that I have, which is my lotus.
Okay. Very cool.
There's a whole story to that.
Okay. So let's start with that then. Let's start with that.
So the lotus came about. I'm not a flower person, but the lotus came about because in 2014, my husband sustained a brain injury, and we went through a really, really dark time. We didn't know what was going on with him. There were some things that were happening in our personal lives. We ended up homeless because, just medical bills and bankruptcy and things like that. Yeah. And one day we were sitting and we were talking, and we happened to get on, my husband's from Southwest England, so we were talking about coat of arms. And on his coat of arms is a Latin quote that says "Dum spiro spiro," and it means "whilst I breathe, I hope." Well, then when you look at the lotus is the only flower that grows out of absolute darkness. It's mud and it's dirty water, and it's the harshest of environments.
Sure.
And yet when it blooms, it is one of the most gorgeous flowers on the earth. So out of that, the quote that kind of goes along with it is, without mud, there is no lotus. There is no flower. Yeah. And that's kind of the way that I view that whole journey, that time in our lives. And so I got a watercolor lotus tattoo by a local artist, and it's just kind of been, whilst I breathe, I hope, has just been my motto for life since that time. So
wow,
that's where it came from.
Well, that was a great show. Thanks for, geez, what am I supposed to say now? Like, that was like my gosh, that is incredible. I love hearing stories like that. So, okay, well, we have to rewind. So, are you from the Fort Wayne area originally?
Not originally. I moved here in 1976.
Okay.
I was born in Nashville, Tennessee. But
nice.
My parents kidnapped me when I was a youth and moved me up to the north, which was a whole adjustment in and of itself, because I don't sound like I'm from the South, but my heart is still in Tennessee. But, first grade, when I started school at South Wayne Elementary, they were not the kindest to a sweet little towhead blonde girl from Tennessee who spoke with a really deep Southern accent.
Yeah.
And they said, "You're not from around here, are you?" And
you're like, "Nope."
The next week, my accent, it was gone. I changed my whole persona. Wow. So technically, I say I'm from Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, 76.
Yeah.
I've been here since 88.
And I'm 53, so I've been here for a long time.
Yeah, I'm 42, and I've been here since 88. So, I'm not from here either, but it's like, okay, at a certain point, you just are, right?
I just am.
But being from near San Francisco, being from Nashville, those are cool places.
They
so
are.
So I still like to say kind of I'm from,
Yeah, I say I'm from Tennessee, but I live in Indiana.
Yeah, for sure. But we claim you now, so.
Yeah, thank you.
That's, yeah.
But now I'm going to leave again, but that's okay. That's a whole other story.
Right. So, okay, walk us through the story of becoming an entrepreneur. When you were coming out of school, did you go to college?
Baking was the last thing on my mind. I was not.
Even when you were like 18, 19,
no.
you just didn't? Or
I baked with my mom. Being from the South, we had certain things you had to know how to do, right?
Sure,
you couldn't
fair.
come out of diapers unless you knew how to make a pecan pie. I'm just saying. We didn't do potty training. We did pecan pie training, right? So I did little things, but it was never on my radar to be a baker. I always wanted to be a performer. I wanted to go to Broadway, and I was going to be on stage, and like that was. And then life hits, and the reason the bakery came about was because I met my husband at the end of 2000 in an internet chat room, and 2001, March of 2001, we decided that we were going to try this intercontinental thing. He came over 4 times to visit. In his last visit, he never went home. We had quite a harrowing experience at Detroit Metro Airport, where they kept him in interrogation for 3 hours and wouldn't even tell me he was home. So by the time we reunited in the middle of the airport, I said, either you marry me or we got to call this off. And he was here up until 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. So when all this happened, he was here for a long time, introduced him to American foods like biscuits and gravy, right? And a Brit, when you tell them biscuits and gravy, it's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
They're like, you put gravy on biscuit? I'm like, it's not a cookie.
Right. A biscuit is a cookie. Fish and chips is like, well, fish and chips is the same here, but
right.
Little things like that.
Yep.
Mayonnaise for their French fries.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't call them French fries; they call them chips. Right?
They're chips. Yep.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of cultural things. So he went through his time period, eating American foods and loved them. Lee's famous recipe chicken is his favorite chicken place.
Hey, it's good chicken.
It is good chicken.
I mean, how could you not like it?
But, and hey, he likes his food. So it about a decade into when he had been here, he said, I'm really starting to miss some of the things I used to have back home. He's like, I miss a really good scone. I miss, Bakewell tarts, which is like a whole other dessert that they, and like Battenberg cakes, things like that. So I started to learn how to make European pastries. So that
how did you learn?
Oh, I just Google was my friend.
Because I guess back then it was around.
Yes.
Then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had the internet. I'm not that old.
Well, no, I'm thinking at first you met at 2000, and going from there, 20.
Yeah, it was about 2012 is when I actually started my very first rendition of the business, and it was The Englishman's Wife. It's appropriately named.
Oh, okay.
And I specialized in scones and started to learn more about European pastries and things like that.
Did he like them right away? Did you nail it?
Not right away. No.
Did he help you? Kind of like, okay, well, I think it's because it's this and this. And...
Yep. And there are things to a scone it's very specific. So if you alter one of those steps, it totally it changes the taste. It changes the texture, and it just doesn't sit right. So so he was my sounding board for definitely a lot of taste testing. But it bloomed from there, and it started off The Englishman's Wife, and then it went to, okay, I'm just going to specialize in scones. So then I went to Let's Get Sconed. And then someone told me to start doing cookies, and the tattooed cookie was born.
So do you still do the scones and those things that are more known to be across the pond?
I do. Matter of fact, that's what, I mean, anybody who's been to the farmer's market, right? You know that there's bakers everywhere you turn. Each one of us has a niche.
Yeah.
And there's something for everybody. And I love the fact that, I'm just going to little plug for the market. I love the fact that the majority of the bakers are more about community as opposed to competition. If there's things that I have that somebody else doesn't, they don't hate on me because people come and buy from me, right? And I'm the same way. If I have somebody that wants gluten-free, which I don't do, I am all gluten all the time, I know who I can send them to.
Right.
Right. And we do that. So I want to preface by saying that because we each develop our own little thing. And most of my bakes are British bakes. If you've ever watched the Great British Baking Show, which most Americans are riveted by it, they are more rich as opposed to sweet. So there's a difference in the taste and the texture.
When I talk to people, so my aunt, she moved here in 79, and she is from Belgium, and she always says, "Oh no, too sweet."
Mm-hmm.
People from not America will come and try our stuff, and they always say that to me that
Yep.
this stuff, it's too sweet. They're just not used to it.
Right.
So to your point, like I totally get that.
And Americans will say the opposite when they travel abroad, right? Oh, that food's really bland. It's not that it's bland. They're not addicted to sugar like we are. And there's a sugar addiction.
100%.
And I'm all
And
about
you're
it.
profiting off it.
Absolutely.
Like, right? Like, hey.
I'm like, hey, I understand y'all that are detoxing, but don't ruin my business. Right. You know, but so yeah, so they say the same thing, but it's because it's just a different way of cooking. So yeah, so mine are definitely more rich, and you still get that full flavor, but I don't use as much sugar as a lot of North American bakers do.
Sure, that's very interesting, and obviously it makes sense. Makes sense why. So let me ask you about when you first started going, and right before maybe that you started at the market. Was there a turning point where you said, "I don't know if I can do this"? Like, was there something
Every day?
Well, okay.
Every day. I tell you what, number one, baking and the vending side of life is not for the faint of heart, right? And especially, big difference between other vendors and bakers is you have somebody say they make candles or they do crochet. You can start in January and make your whole stock for the rest of the year, right? I can't do that. So Saturday after market, I'm already planning out my next days. This is what I've got to get ready so that I can bake the whole next week.
100%, because
It's hard, right? So there's no downtime, and it's just me. And I do this out of my little itty bitty kitchen where my rolling pin is wider than the countertop space that I have to use it on. So like I'm in very close quarters. I do a lot of my prep on my stovetop, right? So it's like you just you make amends, or you make adjustments for what it is that you have to do.
Yeah.
So it's just me. So I start early in the week, and I still come out with a full table of stuff by Saturday morning. I don't know how I do it, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
A
lot of dedication, and you have to be passionate about it enough. And
and that doesn't even count the time that you're cultivating your recipes. I'll just be honest. I got an oatmeal raisin cookie that I will put against anybody's, anywhere. I have developed this recipe over 10 years. 10 years I have developed. I have put my blood, sweat, and tears into this one recipe. And, to me, that's something to be proud of. And like, I talk about that. And that's what I say, guarantee you won't find another oatmeal raisin cookie like that anywhere on the market.
Man,
anywhere.
Of course, yeah.
Commercial or local. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
I would join a competition right now if I could, if there was one out there.
Well, maybe, I talked to Ashley, our fearless leader, about different ideas for events that we can do, because we have use of that building. And I want to do like Pizza Fest, or we talked about Not Another Fest, where it's non-alcohol and people bring in their other stuff. There's all kinds of teas and sodas and that not only sell at our market, but just in general, there's people where we could do something like that and have, we have a ton of bands that come and play. Absolutely. We could call one of them up and say, would you play for this event? There's all kinds of ideas that we're trying to think of to do. And that'd be cool to have something like that.
A cookie tasting contest?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And then have we're literally thinking out loud on this podcast right now. But it would be cool to have your peanut butter, your chocolate chip cookie, your oatmeal raisin, right? And go through maybe fudge, or something like that, right?
I think it'd be great.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I'd love to see it.
That would be so cool. And we could make it an event. People come, maybe even a couple dollars to come, and everyone splits the profits, and we donate part of it to whatever organization or whatever.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I think so.
Have a band and stuff, and
You have until mid-January.
have
Let's
to-
do it.
Yeah, like let's go. Man, that would be super fun.
It would be. That'd be cool.
So, okay, now let's talk about how you got associated with the #1 market in the state, #5 in the whole, no, #5 in the #3 in the Midwest, and #5 overall. I'm actually
Yes.
saying that right.
I think that's pretty. I
how-
think that's what I remember. It's been a minute since the results came out.
I know.
But that sounds accurate.
#1 in the state. We do
Yes.
know that.
We know that for sure.
Hands down. How did you get involved with the YLNI Farmers Market?
Okay, so this again goes back to my husband's story. In 2020, my husband had to return to England, simply because, and I'm not saying anything disparaging, but the healthcare system in America is not overly friendly to immigrants. I'm just going to put it that way. He was fully disabled, and because he didn't have the work history, like his disability that he was getting was way lower than even like the monthly minimum, right? So we had to make the difficult decision for him to go home. So November of 2020, my husband and my youngest son, who was 16 at the time, who's a dual national, hopped on a plane and went back to England. And the original plan was, okay, let him go over there, get the medical help that he needs. Maybe he can return. There's no way he can come back. It just, with the treatment that he needs
Yeah.
and his status,
He can't get it here.
cannot get it here. And that's nothing against, I'm not trying to be anti-American. That's
No.
just the reality of our situation.
Yeah, it's
Our
very
situation.
unfortunate. It's not good.
Yeah, you're not good at all. So then the whole process came, how do I get over there? We've been living on 2 different continents for 3 years. So the decision was, okay, I'm going to take my company public, because before then I'd just been doing special orders. Friends, hey, I've got a dinner party coming up. Can you make something?
Yeah.
Right? Simple.
Right.
And through the encouragement of another vendor who are very good friends of ours, and knowing that my goal then was to use my bakery to raise the fees that I needed to be able to apply for my relocation to the UK,
Yeah.
I had to improve my reach. I had to get out there. And the farmers market was one way that I could tap into that. So at my friend's encouragement, I applied, and I started back. February was my first. So I started at last year's winter market, about halfway through the season. So
Sure.
and
And
that was,
what can you say about the market as far as why you do so well there with all the people? Like, what is it about the market that makes it, to you so great?
what isn't there? So first of all, there's variety, right? So we have hundreds of vendors, right? Like, I'm waitlisted for December. Ashley,
Which is crazy. Yeah, right?
but
there's
that's
so many-
fantastic.
Yeah, right.
Like, great for the market, sucky for me, but great for the market.
Right.
Right. But it's a whole different vibe. Like, even when you go down there, I have not met a single person that's walked up to or past my table that wasn't friendly. I have met people from over the city. They're like, oh, I saw you on, right? Because I've done community theater in Fort Wayne. I did for more than 40 years. I just retired last December. And people recognize me from being on stage, right? Like, things like that. And it's like, oh, and then you meet people outside of your little bubble, right? It was, to me, that socialization, and especially since I've been living by myself for so long now, I don't get to talk to people other than my dogs, and they just kind of look at me with a very blank stare. But, so like getting out there and meeting the people. So you have, on one respect, you've got, here's all the vendors, and for the most part, I will say the camaraderie that happens is fantastic, right? Like, I've met people that I never would have met before because we just
Right.
didn't run in those circles.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have the public. There are amazing people out there.
They show up in droves, don't they?
In droves. And
Thousands of
if you
people.
take the time to talk to them, right? and get to know them. And then then sometimes you'd be like, hey, the last time you mentioned you'd like such and such, you know what? I brought this out if you want, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like you just form those kinds of relationships. And all of it has just been, I have not had too many negative experiences.
Right. And nothing's perfect, of course.
Nothing's
but like
perfect.
overall, like wow, it does kind of like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yep.
In a good
There's
way.
that mud for the bloom, right? So here we go again. It all balances. So
The lotus, yes.
Yep, the lotus.
Which I did not know that about I mean, I've heard of a lotus flower and seen, but like I didn't realize that it can come from basically nothing.
Dark dirt,
Dark dirt, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what
muddy waters.
yeah, you're able to make it through muddy waters, right?
Yep.
That is so cool. So this next question goes along with that. Actually, it's one of usually my last question, and
Usually,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to think if it's ever not been, but so the mayor tasks you with a job. Okay,
Oh.
you ready? This is
I
hypothetical.
missed that proclamation.
Hypothetical.
Oh, hypothetical. Okay.
Hypothetical,
All
yeah.
right. He's tasking me. Hypothetically, he's tasking me with.
You are to come up with a saying that you want. It's going to be on, everyone in the whole county can see it. It's going to be up on the tallest building. It's going to be a phrase. It's going to be a sentence. It's going to be whatever. And it's going to be from you. So what would you want to tell the entire county, Northeast Indiana, like whatever? Everyone's going to see this sign that's posted, and you get to call the shots on it.
You know, there's one really, really positive thing that I will say about Fort Wayne. Okay. And anybody that has talked to me knows that it's not, it's not ever where I wanted to be, right? It's my home, but I probably never would have chosen it. But the one really positive thing I will say about Fort Wayne is that it is the biggest small town ever, right? We have got, and I don't even know what it is. There's not a day when I go out in public, because I work from home. So sometimes I don't leave my house.
Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's not a day when I don't venture out that I don't see somebody I know. In a city of 270 some odd thousand people, I see somebody I know.
Same.
I can stop in the middle of the store or walking down the street downtown and see someone and have a conversation in the middle of the street. I can't imagine doing that in, no offense, Chicago, San Francisco, New York City.
Of course not.
Right?
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, but just Fort Wayne, it's just everybody seems to know everybody. And if you don't know them personally, I guarantee you've got 500 friends in mutual on social media, right? Like, it's the biggest little small town.
It's wild. It truly is.
It's crazy.
I feel exactly the same no matter where I go. Either I'm at a restaurant and I see someone eating that I know, or they just hired a new server and, oh, I know her, or whatever it is. Like, it's just that way, whether I'm at Kroger, well, it doesn't matter whether I'm at the market. Of course, I'm getting to know all you vendors. I know you guys, but the people that come and shop, oh, hey, you know him? Oh yeah, I know him through him. And then,
right.
I mean, it's like, it's just the way it is. And now, be honest, you don't even feel that weird when it happens. You're almost expect it. You're almost like, oh yeah, hey John. Yep. You don't even like think about it or like think that it's all that weird. But when you break it down, it's very weird.
It is weird.
I mean, come on.
He's like, my husband comes from a village, right, that now is a town, has 15,000 people, right?
Yeah, so people know. But even
like,
there,
he can't even walk. He's like, I don't know who that person is. He's like, you come in this city with, 270 some odd thousand people, and you know people. And I'm like, that's just, and it's happened organically where you just meet people. Other times it's been networking. The networking in Fort Wayne is like nothing I have ever seen.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the number of, somebody just mentions your name and all of a sudden you're like talking to 5 other people about different opportunities, whether you're, looking into like helping them promote their business, or, doing things like finding out about auditions for local theaters, like all kinds of stuff. And one person introduces you to somebody else and it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say Fort Wayne has really got that going for it.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about it. So, for the time being, we can find you every Saturday for now?
Through the end of November, Ashley.
Right. So we got to get you on.
Yeah, I've got through the end of November, and then I'm back on December 23rd. So it's 3 weeks in between at the beginning. So some of y'all vendors need to drop out so Jen can get a spot.
Let her know. Now, also though, for special orders, what is the best way if someone has a special order, especially after listening, and they're like, oh, I would love her to make XYZ. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
I do have my Facebook page, which is the Tattooed Cookie. And I just actually renamed it. So it's the Tattooed Cookie Custom Cookies and Bakehouse. Okay. So you can find me on Facebook. I don't Instagram a whole lot. So don't do that. But I have my business cards that are out there.
When they're at the market.
An email, a text. Like I'm one of those. I do all my business off my phone. So, getting a text at 10 o'clock at night is not abnormal for me.
That's how the world runs now.
That's how it runs.
So,
but yeah, absolutely. I always have my my marketing materials out on my table at the market.
Yeah.
Of course, the email address, which is getsconedwithjen@gmail.com.
Okay.
You can email me. I try to remain pretty, tag me in a post, whatever. Like.
Yeah. No, love it.
I'm always around.
So make sure you pick up a tattooed cookie from our lovely Lotus Flower that joined us today. Thank you, Jen, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Coraggio Media. The show is edited by me and sponsored by the YLNI Farmers Market. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest updates. We will see you next week, where we will be sure to show you how you can enjoy Fort Wayne.